Bhagavad Satsang. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswatai Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we'll be continuing the Eknathi Bhagavad, chapter 2, verse 41 onwards and subverse 581 onwards. So in the last verse, that is verse 40, we stopped saying, O king, this man does not see any other social manners except the God himself and his relationship with the God. Please listen to the description of a state of mind. So what we are going to learn today is about the state of mind of a devotee who has no qualms of anything or the identity with his body. So Shri Eknathi Bhagavad, chapter 2, verse 41. The sky, the air, the fire, the water, the earth, the stars, the animals, the directions, the tree, etc. The rivers, the seas, thinking that whatever may be the being, it is Hari's body. He should bow before it with one-pointed faith. The more he sees the world around him in the ecstasy of self-joy and the bliss of Brahman, the whole world appears to him to be full of joy and echoing and re-echoing with the din of universal celebrations of joy. All the five elements, with the earth, the water, the light, the wind and the sky appear to him as Hari only. He sees the various inherent intelligence in all the beings and the elements as undivided and unified existence. So what here Eknath Maharaj is saying, that everything to him appears as everything is on the Lord's body, that is Shri Krishna Bhagwan's body alone. Very beautifully, yesterday my Guruji was explaining a very important verse from Hamsa Gita, and in that we will be doing that in the further chapter. In that it is so beautifully explained how the thread and the yarn, right, it is one and the same. It's only when you see, so if you see the garment after it is weaved, like the sari, so you see it as a plain cloth, but before that it has all those threads in it, right? Now similarly, what Shri Krishna Bhagavan says is that everything, all these beings are on my body alone. I am them. I am in everything. I am the one who has manifested in everything. This whole universe is me alone. So where is the question of separation? The separation comes because I am identifying myself with this body. So when I say I am so and so, I am calling the name associated with the body and I am identifying that I am this body. And then what happens the moment the ego comes in, then you give rise to the difference between you and I. So what Krishna Bhagavan is saying, that there is no difference at all. Everything is me alone. So very simply, what is he saying? The more he sees the world around him in the ecstasy of self-joy and the bliss of Brahman, the whole world appears to him to be full of joy and echoing and re-echoing with the din of universal celebrations of joy. So what is he saying? It is how you look at the world. Many a time my Krishna Guruji has told me, see, when you wear a pink color glass, then you're looking at the world and you also see, everything red in that. So it's what glass you're wearing is that color it's going to appear. Similarly, it's the state of mind. It's how you feel within is what you're reflecting outside. If you're upset, if you're angry, if you think there is something wrong that's going on, it is the creation of your mind. See, in Tripura Rahasyam, Lord Dattatreya has beautifully explained. The word is called imagination. So who is giving you those imagination? It is your mind's imagination. You're seeing a picture running in your mind. And then what happens? You're believing, oh, that is exactly how the world is. But is that true? So it is the concocted story which your mind has given you. And you fall prey to it. And then what happened? You get into different kinds of emotions. Sometimes based on what your mind has told you or it has shown you, based on the imagination, sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad, sometimes you're upset, sometimes you're angry. And at other times you're going to feel, miserable. Sometimes you're crying, sometimes you have sorrow. Why? That is because the state of mind. And who's created all that imagination? It is your mind alone. And you, when you dwell in that imagination, then what happens? You believe that is real. See, first of all, whatever the mind is showing itself is unreal. This whole world is unreal. So what is supposed to be? That is what is he saying is that everything is Lord Hari alone. It is Lord Krishna Bhagwan. So why are you having this separation? Why are you feeling that something is happening to the body? So everything is the way you look at it. So here he's looking the world as it's full of bliss, it's full of joy, and there is celebration, universal celebration happening. So he's going to see that, right? So how do you see the world is in your hands alone? And my Guruji will always say, you know what he'll say? We have to see Krishna Bhagwan in everything. See, everything is happening as a point, everything is happening as per the will of the Lord alone. And most important, whatever that is happening for the good alone. There is always a progress. But how we look at the situation or whatever is happening is based on our understanding and the mental impressions. So my Guruji will always say, if you think there is something bad happening, understand it happens for the good alone. There is also a progress in that. The only thing is you can't understand why that situation is right now. And we see, oh, this shouldn't have happened. There is war happening in the world, but everything is happening on the will of the divine Lord alone. Why? Because there is a progress that has to come about. So when we understand this truth, then you're not going to question how things are. Then you will just understand that everything is happening under his divine will. I just have to do my part of the deal. I have to do my job. I have to just be devoted. I have to do it for Krishna Bhagwan. When you understand this, then you are not going to feel the impact of what is happening around you. Then, what does he say? All the 5 elements, the earth, the water, the light, the wind, and the sky appear to him as Hari only. So everything is Lord Shri Krishna Bhagwan alone. He sees the various inherent intelligence in all the beings and the elements as undivided and unified existence. Everything is so united. It is one alone. See, the divinity, when my Guruji is there, see, for him there is no mind. It is a universal mind. He knows everything that is happening in this entire universe. He's connected. Why? Because he's one with the universe. There is there's no division here. He's undivided. It's unified existence. But can you feel that? See, my Guruji will talk to all the birds, all the creatures, all the animals, everything. They can have a conversation. I'll always ask him, what is the bird telling? Then he'll say, oh, the bird is saying something like this. But he's able to understand. So I said, I wish someday I also know what they are talking. He says, first you have to become one with them. Why are you feeling you're separate? The day you are one, you identify yourself with them, then you will be able to understand. But when you're thinking you're individual, you're separate from them and you're a body, then you can't understand. So this is what he means, the unified existence. He's in oneness with everything in this universe. So that is what you need to understand. Next, O King Parikshit, as the banana tree has not to collect any material in order to grow on it, the leaves and the fruit, etc., the Parabrahman itself becomes manifest in the form of living beings and physical material without borrowing anything separately. So what is he saying again? So he's just giving an example of a banana tree. And now the most important thing what he said here was the Parabrahman itself becomes manifest in the form of living beings and physical matter without borrowing anything separately. Means what? Itself, it just come on its own. There is nothing that was there when this creation happened. That's the beauty. From nothing came something. But do you have the ability to create this? No, it's only the divine Lord. So the Parabrahman itself became manifest in the form of living beings. That is why my Guruji will always say, see, don't look at the body. The divinity is in everybody. And when you being in spiritual, when we are evolving, the most important thing which my Guruji will ask us to follow is to see God in everything. You might not like the person. Somebody might be villainous to you. Somebody is your enemy. But can you see the divine Lord in them? No, you can't. Why? Because your mind is there. You hate that person. We have likes, dislikes. We love, we hate. We have the pairs of opposite, but that itself is a detrimental for the spiritual growth. So you can't say, oh, I am in spiritual, yet I am having all these issues. You can't do that. So one of the process of evolving in the spiritual world is to give up this pairs of opposites, likes, dislikes, love, hate, all that has to go away. And then you will have to see everybody in the equal eye. For my Guruji, there is no difference between anyone. Please understand, that is the truth. He gives everybody the same level of respect, the same knowledge, everything. But it is within that individual to grow in devotion, to be able to receive. The reciprocation has to be with the disciple or the devotee. It is not with the Guru. The Guru is the same to everybody. He is universal, understand. There are no favoritism. The only thing can happen, he will use his right hand more compared to the left hand. The usage aspect shall vary. But please understand, he can't say, I love my right eye more than I love my left eye. That's the way how material worldly people look at it. The Guru is he's universal to everything. He's just having that equanimity of mind. There is no differentiation in his world because he knows that everything is him alone. He knows that this entire creation is within him alone. So it is you who has to grow in devotion. It is you who needs to offer bhakti. It is you who needs to have that kind of faith in your Guru. It is everything to do with the disciple. It's nothing to do with the Guru. The Guru is only here to give you this knowledge, give you this understanding and guide you on the path. And if you do not listen, see, listening is the most important thing. And we also understood why the listening doesn't happen. The listening doesn't happen because first is we come with lot of desires. We have mental impressions and then the dullness of the mind. All these three things does not allow this knowledge to enter. It doesn't go in. It goes out. You listen from one ear and you don't even listen. You hear actually. You hear from one ear and then you get it out from the other. But it's not, it's the other way around, which we did in one of the verse we did. The ear is there because you have to listen from both the ears. Listen. And it has to go into your heart. And when that knowledge goes within yourself, then the understanding comes about. Then you grow in devotion, the bhakti to Guru. See, Guru Bhakti, Guru Seva forms the very foundation of spiritual growth, spiritual path, without which you cannot grow anywhere. So, most important, what is he saying? You have to be able to see everything as him alone. And here he says something beautiful. From nothing came this entire universe. He did not have any material, physical material, without borrowing anything separately. So he did not borrow something and then he did this creation. It just came about by the will of the divine Lord. Then, taking another example, we may see how on the crystal wall, if various pictures of elephants, horses, army are carved, they appear beautifully brilliant by the light shining within. Similarly, the brilliance of the sun, the moon, the stars, and the light in the eyes of various creatures is shining because of the light of the flame of Atman inside them. This is very true. How does it shine? Because of the light. The light of Atman within every being. That is why they are alive. That is called the spirit as well. So you are alive because of that. You can see, the shine. Everything happens only because of the light of the Atman within every being. Similarly, then what is he saying? It may be said that just as the fireworks, when ignited, make the embers of fire look like flowers, so the Brahman appears brilliant in the form of sun, the moon and the stars. So it is his own manifestation. He can appear in whatever form. He's got a capacity which you can't even imagine because he's Lord Almighty. He can create anything just like this. But you can't. Why? Because you have limitations of the body, because you believe you're the body, you believe you have a family, you're attached to people, places and things. You're constantly revolving around them. You're constantly in the, what is the predominant guna that you're in? Rajas and tamas, not even sattva guna. Because we have forgotten to be good. One of the most important thing, the natural state is your sattvic nature. But where is that sattvic nature gone? You become unnatural. Our nature is always, we are Today, if you see why there's so much of upheaval in this universe, why is the nature reacting violently, is because we are, our nature, which is supposed to be goodness, love, all the sattva guna, the sattvic nature, is completely gone away, and we are not in sync with the universal nature. So there is upheaval, and what you have become is unnatural. Your unnatural is to move away from the natural state, which is full of goodness, which is full of love, which is everything that is to do with sattva guna. So what has happened? You have become unnatural. The natural state is so beautiful, to being your good self, and we have gone off that path. So what is being taught here? That means you have forgotten who you truly are, and you believe that house of yours, the people of yours, the place of yours is, and the things is what matters to you. You don't care about what is the truth. And even when you know, yet you are still attached, you're holding on to them. What will happen to my job? What is going to happen to my children? What is going to happen to my husband, my wife, my house, my properties, my parents, my in-laws, you name it, my society. And you follow everything which is unreal. And you know what? Furthermore, by following everything unreal, you're creating more and more karma. And the most beautiful thing we are learning here, what is this called? Bhagavad Dharma. Means the way of life as taught by Sri Krishna Bhagavan. Now, instead of following the Bhagavad Dharma, you're following some human beings created norms in this world. And do you think you will ever evolve on the path? No, because you're following everything which is created by somebody's mind. So where is it truth there? Everything is unreal. And please understand, when you follow somebody's creation, which is an individual mind, and those doctrines is against this, what is being taught by Krishna Bhagavan. So you are going to create more sins and more karma, because you're following everything that is unnatural, which is adharmic. You're going on the unrighteous path. So here, what is he saying? That in everything, whatever this universe, the stars, the sun, the creatures, and the light in the eyes, the light, which means what? The knowledge, the power, the spirit within, is only because of the light of the flame of the Atman. So that is why we have to see God in everybody. You cannot discount anybody in this world. This is the truth. Next, it may be said that just as we did this. The earth is having the quality of smell, but the smell is evident in kasturi, etc. articles. Similarly, the power of Almighty God is all pervading, but it is more evident in the persons of sattva quality. This is a very important lesson. What is he saying? The earth is having the quality of smell, but that smell is evident in kasturi. Kasturi is also it's called, I don't know what to call it, but it's an organic thing. I will find out and let you know. Etc. articles. I think it's turmeric. Okay. Similarly, the power of Almighty God is all pervading. The power of Almighty God is all pervading. Okay. He's right here. He's within. He's outside. He's everywhere. But there is a but here. What is being told is very important. But it is more evident in the persons of sattva quality. That is why you should understand, when you see a person, there are very, very few beings. In just their presence, you will feel an energy. You will feel a positive quality. You will feel some power pulling you like a magnet. They are divine people. They are sattvic in nature. It is only in few people who has the highest of sattva guna can you experience this divinity, not in anybody else. Not at all in rajasic and tamasic people, never ever. And not in those who are completely on the path of adharma, unrighteousness, who don't even believe in God, who talks bad about the scriptures, who tells everything wrong about Krishna Bhagavan and everything else in this world. There is no divinity in them. He is very clearly saying, but see, understand, it is more evident in the persons of sattva quality. What does this simply say? See, God is in everything. That doesn't mean God is going to be evident in everybody because they are driven by their nature. If you are not in the sattva guna, and if you are following the path of rajas and tamas, then how will God be evidently shown in you? It's going to be covered. He is hidden. He is there, yet he is not there. But who will he reflect? It's only in the sattvic people who are full of goodness. That is what I was saying. That is what is your natural state. Being your good self is your natural state. And that is where you have completely gone off. You have become rajas and tamas. You're fully driven by the rajo guna and tamo guna. Which means what? You're driven by your desires, you're driven by passion, and you're driven by tamas, which is full of inertia and lethargy. And that is what you're running behind. So how will God reflect or be, how can the light shine within you? It is not going to. So this is a very important thing. So, but it is more evident in the persons of sattva quality. Do not forget that. That is why in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, verse 1, 2 and 3, the divine dispositions, or the divine propensities, and only that is called the sattvic guna, that is called the sattva qualities, the qualities of sattva. And when you follow, that is when the divinity will shine in you, not otherwise. Therefore, you should understand that sattva, which is essential in the people of pious nature, is the principle of godliness, and because of that quality, they are easily identified with God. Now do you understand what is the most important thing? For you to be associated or identified in oneness with God is required, and that is called the sattvic quality. The qualities of sattva is important. So what is he saying? Therefore you should understand that sattva, which is essentially in the people of pious nature. Now people of pious nature means what? Pious, they are very pure, they are very divine, they are very good. Their nature is so good. A few days ago, my Guruji was giving a very beautiful lesson, and this was on, the killing of Narakasura. And what is the spiritual significance meant, he was explaining. And all that 16,000, wives who he marries, or who, when Satyabhama kills the demon, Narakasura, and these women who were captured by him are released, then Krishna Bhagavan gets married to them. What does the Adhyatmic meaning mean? See, we have more than 16,000 vrittis or tendencies. See, nature and tendencies are one and the same. Vrittis or vasanas we have. It's not just 16,000. There are more than that. Only Krishna Bhagavan has transcended all of this. They are all adhin to him, and he's controlled them. Which means what? All these gunas have to be used in the positive manner, not in the negative manner. Every nature, say for example, my Guruji has taught me this day one. He said, your anger is a nature. And this nature is given by the divine Lord alone. The nature is come with you. There is a reason why this nature is there. So my Guruji has always taught that I have to use the same anger to win in the world. And not for self-destruction. Like when you get angry, you're affecting your own self, and you're affecting others, or we are getting angry with someone else. But he said there is no need for that anger. Anger has to be directed for doing good in this world. Use the same anger to do good in this world. So this is what he has taught. He will never tell any disciples or any of his devotees to change their nature. All he says is you have to redirect them. So what that means, the same story, when he is marrying the 16,000 wives, 16,000 women, means he's subduing that nature and channeling in the positive direction and more. He has transcended all of them. So that is what it means. So here one must understand that our nature is the most important thing. We have to develop the divine, the pious nature. So you might have whatever nature you have to make that pious. You have to make that into sattva guna. I mean the quality of sattva. You have to bring that nature and make it positive. And that is what he teaches. So here he very beautifully says, therefore you should understand that the sattva, which is essentially in the people of pious nature. So being your good self is your natural nature or natural state. So your nature, that which is whatever the nature you have to now channel it for progress. You have to make it positive, not negative. Then is the principle of godliness. That is the foundation of becoming godliness. First is goodliness equals to godliness. If you don't have goodness in you, how can God even come near you? God doesn't exist at all. You can read as many scriptures you want, you can attend as many satsangs you want, not even a word will enter. Why? Because we are driven by our the Rajasic or Tamasic nature or demonic dispositions, which is what we have to overcome. The Shadripus, the 6 enemies of human beings or humankind, we have to overcome them. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mada, Matsarya. This is not just said for the heck of it, because this is what we are all driven by. Till you do not give that up, there is no way you can progress in spiritual world. Devotion will not even enter you. You can read as much as you want. Bhakti to your guru doesn't happen. So, and because of that quality, they are easily identified with God. Then, there are 4 oceans on the earth and there are 4 directions, but wise people call them as the body of God. East, west, etc. are various directions which are also constituents of the body of God. It is the Lord Srirang ruling in these directions. Thus, the devotee looks at the grass, that is darba, creepers, tree, etc. and says that these must be the hair on the body of God. But though Hari is equally present in our body and other bodies, a person who does not have any understanding perceives these things as separate. Very simple. What is he saying? See, we always look at the identity, right? Because of the ego. And when you don't have any understanding about the world of spiritual or who God is, why all this creation, nothing when you know, you're going to perceive that everything is separate and you are separate and there is no God in anything. But the truth is, this entire universe is the manifestation of the divine Lord himself. That is what he's saying. Then, if we count our fingers, they are evidently separate, but they are united at the roots with our palm. So what he's saying, so if you look at the 5 fingers, it feels separate, right? But they're all united in the root. Similarly, this entire beings of bodies, animate, inanimate, you name it, everything is rooted in the divinity, the divine Parabrahman, Paramatman. Similarly, for the devotee, everything like the forest, the creepers, the grass, etc. is only Hari's appearance and is one united whole. So for a devotee, we are talking about the highest of the devotee who can feel this, not anybody. Because today, the devotion to the Guru itself doesn't exist. Forget about having this understanding that everything is one and he is within the divine Lord Hari only. It doesn't come at all. It's not such an easy thing. To get to that stage, first the purification of your heart, purification of your mind and surrender to the Guru has to happen. If these 3 things has to happen, it all begins with a foundation called the word faith. If you don't have faith in your Guru, then none of the rest of the things doesn't exist at all. So the foundational word called faith is the most important thing. Then, he thinks that the wild creepers, the bushes or little grass like durba, that is darba, are the whole line of hair growing on body of Hari and says that because of the indwelling Hari, they look beautiful. As the pseudo roots on the branches of the banyan tree grow separately and are hanging, they are grown from the tree itself and we cannot say that they have lost their unity with that tree. Similarly, no matter what objects or what you can say they are separate, even if they appear separate, they are not separate. They are all within the divine Lord. It is all an extension of the divine Lord alone. That is what is being said. Similarly, from one spirit, all the beings are like rivers flowing from one source and they cannot be said to be away from that essential spirit. So everything has come from that universal spirit alone. There is only one spirit. From that, everything is there. So you can't say that the rivers are individual. At the end, where do they merge? They all go and merge in the ocean alone. In the moon herself, her nectar is impregnated as inseparable nature. Similarly, the universe is in the God and it is so realized by devotion only. So what is the word here? Devotion. Till you do not have the devotion, You can't understand any of these things. This will be mere words. Okay, I'm just reading. It will not make any sense because the word is called devotion. Devotion comes when you have absolute faith. You have to be absolutely devoted to that divinity. And that devotion comes through the Guru, the faith in the Guru, bhakti. That's where it all begins. The devotee feels great enthusiasm while looking at everything in the world as a form of God. He experiences that God has, in his own play, taken the role of all those beings. Therefore, he becomes so lenient to every being that one may say that he has become like a salt in water, one with that being. So, what is he saying? When the devotee understands that everything is the divine Lord and the manifestation, he becomes so lenient to every being. So you're not upset about anything around you. Why? Because you're able to only see Krishna Bhagwan in everything, which is a very difficult thing for normal people to do. Today, the tolerance level is not there. The goodness is not there. There is no love existing. Everybody is very self-centered. I, me, myself is the world we are in. And what does he say? And one with that being. So lenient to every being, that one may say that he has become like a salt in water. Salt in water, you've become one with that. So you don't see any you are not going to be discriminating. You don't see any differences over there. You're always in oneness with every being. That's the same lesson we learned this morning in Tripura Rahasyam. My Guruji was imparting the same lesson. How you have to be able to see everything as one alone. Why are you feeling the separation? And then what happens? And then they merge in that. See, there's a very beautiful, recently Pope passed away. And when everybody is talking today, they're all, say condolences. They're remembering all the beautiful things that the Pope has done. And the most important thing which I just saw and hit me really hard was the Pope, was kissing the feet of the world leaders. You know why? To end whatever the enmity that they have. He was washing the feet of the prisoners, Muslim and women. Why? He's a great being. And yet he's doing the same lesson in Bhagavad Gita. When Yudhishthir performed the yajna and everybody were given a particular task, what was Krishna Bhagwan's role? Krishna Bhagwan took the role of he took the task or a duty. Everybody were given certain work. And Krishna Bhagwan took the duty of washing every guest who comes for that Rajasuya Yajna, and he was going to wash everybody's feet. Do you know how beautiful is that? That's called humility. The Parabrahman, the Paramatman, the Lord Almighty, the Master of this universe is doing this. Tell one ordinary person, I feel very sad. When anybody comes to our ashram, people have this ego. They don't even know how to properly, touch the lotus feet of my Gurudev. And here, the great beings, why they are able to do? Because they don't discriminate. They only look at every being as their extension, their very self. And they see God in every being. They don't have the word called ego. Humility is the mark of recognizing such divine beings. Do you even stand any stead in spiritual world? Just listening to this knowledge is not enough. Where is the application? Application is the most important thing. And the Pope's life, even till the last moment, he was only working. He was serving the world. He was serving his purpose. He was serving his mission. He was doing God's work. And here we are so self-centered human beings. We only care about I, me, myself, my house, my children, my family, my job. Very self-centered. Do you think you are ever going to be redeemed? Do you think you are going to ever enjoy? Do you think you are ever going to have peace in your life? Never ever. Because everything is motivated. It's a selfish act. You're a very self-centered human beings. What is the good that you're going to do for others? You cannot think beyond your child. My Guruji asked a very beautiful question, and it's a very valid question. If you and your child and your child's friend come, your child has not come first, or your child's friend has come first, will you feel the same goodness of heart for the child? No, you're not going to. But as a Guru, he will feel the same thing for everybody. The Lord Almighty feels the same thing for everybody. This is the lesson which we have to learn. This is what he's teaching. And these are a great examples in the world. How did the Pope live? And he did not, a Lamborghini was, given to him. You know what he did? He signed, he blessed it, and he sold it back. And that money, he gave it in charity for doing good in this world. And here there are people, oh, I want more. I need 2 cars. 1 car is not enough. I need to buy 2 cars. I need to buy 10 houses. I need bank balances. We're running after this lust and greed, very selfish to the core. We don't think about doing good in this world at all. So what will happen to you? You are going to be born again and again. Simple as that. There is no redemption at all. So what is the legacy you want to leave? And that's what I was very touched. When I learned the beautiful things that the Pope has done to me, it was exactly what we have learning in Bhagavad Gita. What does Krishna Bhagwan teach? So he doesn't have ego. How can Paramatma, Lord Almighty, washing the feet of a common man? Here people have such an ego that they don't even want to clean their own place. They come to ashram, we have to do their seva. It's the other way around. And in Eknath Maharaj, what did he do? It's such a beautiful one. He was serving his guru. His guru had more than 30 servants because his guru was a great guy, Janardhan Swami. He was a great master and he was the essence of Lord Dattatreya himself. And he was working for the kingdom. So he had all the things. Yet, Eknath Maharaj would serve his Gurudev. He would get up even before his guru is getting up and will keep everything ready. Right from keeping his water for the toilet, cleaning the toilet place with the cow dung and putting rangoli. Those days, of course. See, those days there were no toilets. So there was a place where the gurus, where everybody would go and do their, the nature's call. And what did Eknath Maharaj do? He cleaned that place so nicely. And Janardhan Swami was wondering, even the people who are supposed to clean will not do. So he was wondering, who has done this? Who has done this? And when Janardhan Swami asked, what was Eknath Maharaj's response? He said, are you going to deprive me of this? Why are you even asking? We should not even utter that we have done. One of the most powerful lessons, the life of Eknath Maharaj. In his saying, my Gurudev, why are you even talking about it? Don't even take this away from me. And here people will not even do a little bit, but they want praise. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be given recognition. Are you in a spiritual world or material world? Then you should not even be sitting for this class or come learning this. And to me it was very touching. It was very moving. Many a time my Guruji will say, why do you need acknowledgements? You don't need the Guru to acknowledge. And that is what Eknath Maharaj is saying. Even when Janardhan Swami, his Gurudev is acknowledging him, he said, don't acknowledge. I am not doing anything. I am mere your servant. How beautiful is that? So that is what we have to be. We are here to serve the world. We have a purpose. It is not only serving our family, our people. Understand, whatever we have is everything given by the Divine Lord. So we are here to do good. Sai Baba will always say, wealth is to establish dharma. So Eknath Maharaj, you know what? Without even telling his grandparents, he did not have parents. He was raised by his grandparents. He did not even tell them that he is going away. He just walks out one day. And here we are holding to this unreal family who are worthless. On the contrary, they are only going to take you to the cleaners. Nothing else. You are not going to get anything by that family. And we are so devoted. And the one who's wearing himself out, you don't even care about that being's existence. And only people love to talk. Do nothing. Just talk, talk, talk. And he looks with respect at an ant and offers salutations and bows down with respect even to a fly, believing it to be God's another form. How beautiful. That's called humility and respect to everything in this world. There may be a cow or a donkey or a chandala, a low caste man or a dog. He surrenders to them, thinking them to be God. The Pope did not have any discrimination because he saw God in everything. For him, humility, that is the mark of the greatest beings on this planet Earth. Only this, the small people will have ego, arrogance and all these things. The mark of a great divine being, they will be very, very humble. They don't have any ego. They are constantly serving their disciples, their devotees. What does Krishna Bhagavan say in Bhagavad Gita? I am ever ready serving the devotees. I am always waiting to serve them. And here, these great devotees will not even want to serve. They expect their guru to serve them. This is Kali Yuga. That is kind of a guru-disciple relationship or a devotee-God relationship we are in. Then, he thinks that the stone is Hari, the grass for him is also God. He bows before it. Both the animate and inanimate are for him spirit only, and he prostrates before them. Does it explain? This is what we have to do. We have to give respect to everything. The highest respect is to your Gurudev, Guru Bhakti, Guru Seva. If you can't do these things, not even a single word which is mentioned will enter. Who's talking? Eknath Maharaj is talking. Why is he saying? These are the words of divine wisdom, his love for his Gurudev. And who is Eknath Maharaj? He's Krishna Bhagavan himself. And who is Janardhan Swami? He's Lord Dattatreya himself. Why do he has to do as Krishna Bhagavan, who's taken the form of Eknath Maharaj, so that he can give the world the knowledge what it is to be a devotee of the Guru. How do you attain devotion to God? Not just mouthing. You have to live by example. If you ask how much benefit is derived by remembering the name of Hari, O King, please listen to the secret of it. Now, please know that when a man is all the time having a conviction that spiritually all existence is one, and who constantly worships God or listens or remembrance any singing about God, can only be the recipient of full identification with God. So what is he saying? He's going to give you an understanding of what is the secret of remembering, or the benefit that you're going to derive by remembering constantly the name of Divine Lord, and that is Krishna Bhagavan. Not remembering the name of your family, friends, people. They're only going to take you to cleaners. You're going to be born again and again. So you should understand what is your will and do accordingly. Knowledge is only what the gurus can give. But to live that knowledge is in the disciple and the devotee's hand. So with that, we will stop here. So we have completed chapter 2, verse 41 and subverse 604. So thank you for joining Shri Eknathi Bhagavad Satsang. Have a good day and good evening to you all. God bless.
Recording stopped.